This video will cover the basic connectivity and configuration to get the core System Line 7 system up and running. For this video, we've connected a System Line 7 net server to the internet via the router. It has a digital output connected to a NetAmp, which is connected to a pair of speakers in the zone using speaker cable, and operation in the core system is using the NetMusic app on an iOS 7 iPad. The actual connection between the server and the NetAmp is via USB, and here you see two USB connections to the NetAmp because the NetAmp has two zones, an independent USB connection for each one. So once you've plugged in the two USB cables from the server to the NetAmp, you'll need to plug in the speakers from each zone into the two speaker connectors, plug in a local area network cable from the NetAmp and the server into a broadband router that's running a DHCP server. That means they'll obtain an IP address automatically. Plug in the two power cables. You'll find that the NetAmp will automatically boot up and the display will become active. Once that's happened, push the power button on the front of the server and that will boot up separately. Now the server doesn't have a display. The easiest way to find out the IP address is to use a free app called Fing. So run the app, choose the correct SSID of your Wi-Fi, press the little refresh button in the top right hand corner and it'll scan for all devices on the network. They're all listed by IP address and then the actual name of the device. The one you're looking for is called NetMusic, and you can see here we found it at 192.168.1.120. Open up a web browser and type in the IP address that you've just discovered. That will open up the web page of the server. Now scroll down to where it says Configure Player, and that will show you the two USB connections that you've made to your NetAmp. If they're not shown, you can press Refresh and Submit, and it should discover the NetAmp connections and populate that screen. Press the Select button on the front of the NetAmp, and the display will show you its IP address. So you can open up another browsing window, type in the IP address of the NetAmp, and its web page will open up. Now we're going to have to go to Source Selection to set up the two sources, the USB connections from the server. When you click on this, you'll be asked for a username and password, which is admin and password. Once you've entered that, you'll be shown the source setup of the NetAmp. Now the USB connections are source 3 and 3A. The first thing you need to do is put the IP address in of the server, which you've just used before, and then you can press the Get MAC button. What that does is it gets the unique MAC address that you've just seen from the server and populates it there in the NetAmp. And you need to do that separately for both source 3 and 3A, so do it again for 3A, and that will populate the MAC address. It's important that you do that because then the app is able to tie the two together. Now you can rename the source. I'm going to call it Music for both the source 3 and 3A. And once you've done that, you can press Save to store those settings in the NetAmp. Now I'm going to go and set up Zone 1. Just want to rename the zone. So select Zone 1 Setup, and there's a box there you can type in the name of your zone. Once you've typed that in, remember to press Save, and I'll do the same for Zone 2. And you can see those zone names appear on the display. To rip a CD, plug a USB drive into the back of the server, and it's just a case of putting the disk into the drive and closing the drawer. The server will automatically scan the CD, look up the album and artist information, and start storing it. You can actually see progress of this by selecting the CD Ripper option in the server web page. When it's finished, the server will eject the CD if your USB drive supports that function. You can rip some more CDs, but when you're finished, you'll need to reboot the server. Go to System Configuration and press Reboot. When the server reboots, it'll rescan the media and add your ripped CDs to the library. When the server reboots, you can open up the System Line 7 app on an iPad. The app will automatically discover the server and the NetAmp zones and populate. To select a zone, press where it says Kitchen, and that'll bring up a pop-up selection of zones. I'll select the bedroom, and you'll see that it goes to the top there. Press outside there and press the System Line House logo to bring up the browsing screen. Now I'll press Albums. There's the album that I ripped. Press that and press the track to make it start playing.